Okay, I'm gonna open file, practice retouch. It's gonna work, but we'll see. Okay, so step one says make a copy. What was it?
Just drag it down.
Great. Yep, right on your layers palette, you simply go to background layer, drag, drop, and you get 2 copies, right? Okay. So that's a really important step when you're working on retouching. And a lot of people don't do it. I forget sometimes myself. So if I forget at any time today, remind me. That way, if you make a mistake or you overdo it, you can always dial back by changing the opacity. If you don't have a second layer, then you're working directly on your picture, and you never want to do that. So that's a super, like in your head, highlight that one. Like that's important. Okay, step 3. This should be a review. Heal and patch. Blemishes, stray hairs, and other imperfections. So most of you know how to do this. You zoom in, and you're just kind of going to use the patch and the heal. They're both in the same menu. One's patch, and the other one's spot heal. Not healing, spot healing. Last hour, everybody grabbed the healing brush. I don't know why. But I'm just going to be switching between these two. I'm going to start with the patch tool, I think. And what do I use the patch tool for? Well, anytime... Sorry, I'm making you all sick. Anytime that there's an area that kind of is a large area. So like under the eyes, I might kind of come around here like in this kind of crescent moon shape and pull that down. And anytime I see a seam, I might do that. Let's see, where else might I do? Sometimes since I have it, I might even do this. Now, someone last hour said, well, do I have to take the freckles off? I like them. I like them too. But remember, we're just doing this for practice. So if you ultimately don't want to do that, that's fine. And I'm also going to take them all out, and then I'm going to bring some of them back. Because most of my customers ask me to diminish the freckles. When I do senior portraits, they don't want them taken out because it makes you look who you are. But they want them lightened. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to lighten them. But we have to take them out first. So I might come in here and patch a few areas that I feel like I could patch. So most of you know how to patch. Obviously, if you had stray hairs, you'd patch some of those. Anything that's big. I might switch to the spot healing brush for a while, if I felt like it. And I could come in here and get some of this glitter. I tell my clients, please don't wear glittery makeup if you can help it. Because it tends to, the light catches it in weird ways, doesn't it? And they get these white dots that it doesn't look as cool as you think it's gonna look. So I usually tell people, stick with matte makeup. Don't do all that glittery stuff because the lighting in the studio captures it kind of weird. But half the time they don't listen to me because I know that's really popular right now. So whatever you would normally do with this, you'd go through, take out blemishes, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You get the idea. This should be a review. Just anywhere I see that I could clean it up a little bit. Okay. Now, clone stamp is different. This is going to be new. So with clone stamp, if you remember the clone stamp we used in beginning on that face, and we smooth things out a little bit. So go ahead and grab your clone stamp, but don't start using it yet. All right. And you can see there it says Part A under clone stamp. Use lighten on the option bar for under the eyes and any other dark patch. So I never use clone stamp on normal. So I grabbed clone stamp, and then remember when you have a tool, you go up to the option bar and you can change the mode. So I'm going to start with lighten. There's one called lighten. And I only use lighten and darken. I don't think I've used the clone stamp on normal for 10 years, ever. And then I also never keep the opacity at 100%. That's when things start looking fake. So bring the opacity down to about 30, 35%. So you got it on lighten. You got it on 30 to 35%. You also might want to check to make sure you have a soft brush. So over here, where it says hardness, it should be 0. Most of you probably do. But if you don't, you bring your hardness to, because you want a soft brush. You're doing retouching. You always want soft. Okay. So that's how we set up our cone stamp brush. And then here's what it's for. Look up here for just a minute. So what I want to do is I want to soften kind of this line. It's like a smile line. I want to soften that. I also want to soften maybe some dark circles under her eyes. She doesn't really have dark circles, but a lot of people do. So I hold my Alt key down, right? We all know that you have to sample the good part. So it looks like a little target. Click. And now I'm just going to come over top, and I'm just going to go back and forth a few times. And it's very subtle because I have my opacity at 35%. That's what you want. You want subtle. And basically, after a while, you should see, and you can go around the whole face and do that. Like here, look at how, see how like it's dark here, and then it's light here, and then it's dark here, and it's dark. So what we want to do is kind of smooth it so it's all one tone. So again, I'm going to sample anywhere you want. Doesn't really matter. And then I'm just going to click and drag and click, and I'm click, 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 click and drag, click, click. And after a while, it starts kind of smoothing it. Now, yeah, it starts looking funky if you overdo it, but I just kind of want to show, I wanted to show you what it does. So you don't want to overdo this. I'm going to back up. That was just to kind of show you how it works. I'm going to back up a little bit. But so under the eyes, here's a really good spot. Alt. So you want to find a nice smooth area if you can. And just less is more. Last hour, I think everybody was expecting some like, wow, in your face. It's just subtle. Over here on these freckles, again, I'll come out to a clean area out here, and I just kind of go around the nose a little bit. Keep your left hand on the Alt key because you have to resample a lot. Another great thing this is for is when you get these shadows, and this is going to happen a lot because you guys are new in the studio, and you're going to get really weird shadows. Remember how I showed you the funky lighting? So around the nose, generally you don't want these kind of shadows around the nose, especially if they're much longer. So I have some examples where they're really big. So this is great for taking those out. Hold my Alt key down. I'll make my brush a little smaller. How do you make your brush smaller?
Brackets.
Brackets. Good, good, good. It was crickets last hour. I was like, how do you make your brush smaller? And I was like, I don't know. Ah! Okay. Hold Alt key down, go around. Hold Alt key down, go around. I always go around the nose. I'm going to soften this one up over here. This is one of my favorite tools, is lighten at about 35% opacity. I can smooth the skin out, especially if somebody has a lot of skin that's like different colors. So you're trying to get it to be all one tone. And it takes a while. You have to build it up. If you overdo it, that's okay. We're going to bring the opacity of this whole layer down. So don't worry about that. If you make her look too perfect, we're going to bring some imperfections back. All right, here's a really tricky area. So look at the chin. Get down to the chin real quick. So here we've got both issues. So we've got some little black dark areas. And yeah, I could go in with a clone stamp, with a healing brush, and I could get those all out. But, you know, we've got some, like, little darker patch here, slightly darker. And then this is really light. It's like a shiny area. Maybe she was sweating a little bit. And then a little bit darker here and a little bit darker here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take care of the dark part first. Then we're going to come back and we're going to take care of that shiny so that she doesn't have sweaty. So I'm going to Alt-click in a clean area. And I'm just going to kind of smooth this all out under here. And I'm just going right over that shiny area. And notice it's not changing any of the pixels that are shiny. It's only changing dark pixels because we have it on lighten. All right. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to fix this shiny area by simply going up to my option bar and changing from lighten to darken. So darken is for sweaty, shiny, anything that's dark that needs to be darkened. So I hold Alt. Sometimes if you have a weird light on their face, you can use this to kind of cover it up. Not always, but sometimes. On the tip of her nose, she has a shiny spot too. So I might use it there. So again, hold Alt down, I click right next to it, and just one time over. If you didn't want that whole shiny spot, like her whole nose, you could do that. I could use it on the glittery spot. If I don't like that glitter, I can bring that tone down. So anything that needs to be darkened. Okay, so now she's getting a little bit more of a matte finish to her, doesn't she? And if you want to see how it's going, I just turn off. So look up here. Here's my before. Here's my after. Before, after. So I think so far I haven't overdone it too much. But if I think I have, if I think she looks too perfect and I want some more of her natural skin, all I have to do is take my layer palette and just bring the opacity of that top layer down. So a little bit of the imperfections show through. She doesn't look quite as perfect, but she's still smoother. So that's why we did it on a separate layer. Now I brought mine down to like 64, but you know, it's up to you, whatever you think it needs to be brought down to. Questions so far? No, it's really just using tools you already know and just changing tweaking a few little things for retouching. Okay, now we're gonna move to the really long part, okay? So follow along, even if you didn't finish, don't worry, this is practice, right? You're not turning this one in. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do, I've turned my opacity down, I'm done with this part, I'm gonna flatten these two layers. Anybody know how to flatten? Yeah, I usually go into this little flyout. There's about 5 ways to do it, right? I usually go into this little flyout menu right here, click, and then go down to flatten. Make sure you're picking flatten, not any of the others. Flatten. Okay, and it just sticks those 2 layers together, right? All right, now step 6 says opposite page. So we're going to flip it over, and this step 6 is on the back. It's a lot of steps, I will admit. But we can do it. And I've made an action. Anybody ever heard of an action? So you can take something that's a lot of steps like this, and you can make it one button. So that you just hit a button, and it'll just do all these steps, so you don't have to do it. So if you like this procedure, you can make an action out of it. Just ask me, and I'll show you how to do that. But for right now, you're going to do it the long way. All right, step 1 says, on my Skin Smooth recipe, make 2 copies of the background layer. So we know how to do that pretty quickly. I hope everybody can just boom, boom. So you should have 3 copies of the background. One's called background, background copy 2. All right. Then it says, select the middle layer. Okay, I've got my middle layer selected. Go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, make it a 30 pixel blur. Filter menu. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, 30 pixels. Get close if you can't get close. You can just type it in if you want. All right. You won't see anything happen, so don't expect anything yet. And then what does it say? It says change the blending mode to darken. So again, make sure you're still selected on that same layer. The blending mode is right here. I wish they had a little word that said blending mode, but they don't. So whenever they talk about blending mode, it's this one, and it said change it to darken, right? Now I like to, when I'm learning something, I like to rename my layers so that it just helps me figure out what's going on. So if you just point and double click, we can name this darken. You don't have to do that step. It's just, again, I like to do that so I know what's what. Okay, select the top layer and do the same thing again. So now we just click on the top layer, go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, 30 pixels, click OK. Now you should see some blur happen, but again, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. I'm going to go ahead and double click that one. Well, I'm going to change the blend mode, to lighten. Okay, and I'm going to name it lighten. Again, just for my own benefit so I know what's what. So I've got one that's blurred and darkened and one that's blurred and light. And now we're on step 2. Anybody need help? Raise your hand if you're missing a step. Good. Okay. Step 2 says hide your background layer, which means just turn off the eyeball. That's easy enough. Step 3 says, now this one's the one that's a little tricky, so let's listen before you start doing it. With the Alt key held down, select Merge Visible from the Layers Palette Flyout menu, which is the same place where we flattened. That's the flyout menu. So I hold the Alt key. It doesn't matter what layer you have selected. All that matters is that you turned off the background layer. Hold the Alt key down. Go to the flyout menu and choose Merge Visible, which means merge only the layers that are visible. Keep your Alt key held down and let go. And here's what you should have. If you don't, you have to try it again. You should have a background layer that's turned off. You should have 2 layers that are dark and lightened, and then you should have a new one called Layer 1. Anybody have trouble with that? I know that's a little tricky. Okay, so we're actually done with these 2 layers. We could technically throw them away, but I usually keep them. So we're going to turn the eyeballs off. I think it even says to do that. Now you have one new layer that is a combo of your blur layers. And you have a background layer that's your normal image. Turn the background layer back on. Okay. And turn these 2 off. And make sure that you have this new layer. And you could call this your super duper blur layer if you want. I don't care what you call it, just so you know that that's basically your combination of your lighten and darken. All right. You're going to add a layer mask to it because you would not want that to be on the whole picture. You just want it to be on the skin. So everybody knows how to do a layer mask, I hope. Little hole punched in it. Make sure you have that super duper blur layer selected. And we're just going to layer mask so that this blur is only on the skin. Everywhere you see skin, it should be blurred. Anywhere else is not blurred. So we grab a brush, right, because we're on a layer. We're on a layer mask. We get our brush tool. We make sure that we have black and white paint. This should be a review. And if you're not sure if that's black and white, remember how you hit the little baby? How do I switch from black to white with my keyboard? X, yes. So X will be really fast because you're going to be switching a lot. And you're just going to come over here. You're going to bring black forward. Take it off the eyes. Take it off the mouth. And I'm not being real exact about it because, you know, again, we're just practicing to get the idea. If this were my final image, I'd be zooming in and making sure I did it a lot more perfect. Really, I'm going to take it off everywhere. I'm making a nice big brush. I'm taking it off the background. You know, and I had one person one year say, wouldn't it have been easier if we would have just made the whole layer black and then used white paint to add it where we wanted? Does that make sense? And that is exactly how I do it. But I think that's hard for students to think about. But you can actually fill, the keyboard shortcut is Alt-Delete, and that fills your layer with black paint. So basically you took it off of everywhere, and now you get white paint. And if this is confusing, then don't worry about it. I'm going to go back to the other way. And you just paint it with the white paint on the skin tone. So sometimes that's faster than trying to take it off all the other places. If that doesn't make any sense, that's fine. I'm going to go back to the other. So we've got black paint, and I'm erasing it from the background. I'm taking it off her clothes. I think I'm going to take it off that necklace. Now, it gets kind of hard to see where you're painting, doesn't it? This is a great little tip. Right above the return key is a slash, backslash. It's right next to the brackets, backslash, and it'll give you a mask so you can see where you're painting. So I can see that I've missed some spots that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. So this is not a bad idea, so you can see where you're painting. And then it just becomes like a coloring book now, right? So I'm just going to try to, I only want red. I want red anywhere where I don't want that blur. So again, Red around the eyes, and not too much because I want some blur under the eyes. I usually want red on my eyebrows. And you can turn the opacity of the layer down if it's too much blur so you can see where you're painting. That's a little bit easier. So I don't want it on the eyebrows because you don't want blurry eyebrows. Here's one thing that'll help make this look natural. Take it off the nostrils. And she doesn't have, her nostrils aren't really showing as much. But, you know, that's a surefire way when I see skin smoothing that somebody hasn't done it very well. Let me turn this mask off. You can see the contrast, you know, the nostril should be high contrast. It should be dark. So when it's not, I'm usually like, ooh, they've done some skin smoothing and they really didn't mask it very good. So I always make sure that the nostrils, I don't want skin smoothing on the nostrils. All right, oh, I was working on her necklace, which is, you know, and how exact do you have to be? I don't know. You decide how exact you think you need to be. I mean, you don't want it to look obvious. So I'm going to be a little bit sloppy, but it would just depend on you and how much effort you want to put into masking this all out. But you definitely don't want her necklace to be skin smoothed. What was the question? How to get the red? The backslash, right?
Yeah, it's not.
Are you on the mask?
Yes.
And that's what happened for a couple people last hour. Somehow they got on the regular picture. Remember, you got to be on the mask. Okay? All right, I'll give you a second to do that. I'll walk around. So you're good? All right, so let's go now.
It's not showing up with that.
So I wonder if you you just didn't have anything to show, you know what I mean? So here's what I would do. Bring the opacity of this layer down to about 60. Just click on the word opacity. Yeah, and just click the whole bunch. I just watch this. See how you can just click on the word opacity, go back. So sometimes that makes it a little easier. Yeah, there, so you can kind of see something. See that? I'm trying to erase that red. Right. So it's really just coloring, like you're coloring in a coloring book. You know, if it's taking you a long time, it might be that your brush is kind of small. Make your brush bigger. And then you might, you know, if you really were doing this for real, I mean, I'd make a small brush and I'd follow this little strap. I'd follow the chain around her neck. And if I really wanted to give this 100%. So, how am I doing? Not bad. It could certainly be better. All right, I'll finish up just this one little shoulder. And then we'll call it a day. So don't get too worried about this being perfect. Definitely don't like what I did here because this is not smooth. So remember, anywhere that's red is not going to have that blur. All right, that looks pretty good. Good enough. Okay, so when I'm done, I'm going to turn my mask off. Okay. Now I am at, let's look at your layers palette. I'm going to bring it really close to the face so you can really see. Okay, so I am at my layers palette here. Is at 66%. And I don't know about you, if you look up here, but I think she looks a little alien-like. Like, she's just a little too perfect. That skin blur is a little too good. 66%, and you can read, let's look at number 7 on your skin smoothing recipe. Actually, I'm sorry, number 10. It jumps from 7 to 10, and then it goes to 8. Please disregard numbering. I can count. Okay, number 10 says, when you're done, reduce the opacity further. Probably no more than 20 to 30%. So my rule on the skin smoothing is it should never go over 30% under any circumstances. I don't care how bad someone's skin is. If you go any more than 30%, it's going to look weird. And I usually keep it around 20, 25. So right now I'm at 66, which is why she looks kind of too perfect. Again, I'm just going to my palette here, and I'm going to bring it down to, I don't know, 27 maybe? And if you're not sure, is 27 good, or do I need to go 25, or should I go back up to 30? Just turn the layer on and off. So to hit that eyeball, there's before, there's after. I think that looks pretty natural. Now pop it up to 39. Before, after. Oh, that's too much. Now she's starting to look really kind of low contrast and ghostly almost. So I'm bringing it back down to 26. Before, after. It should be natural. It should be subtle. It should kind of just make her glow, not make her look like a mannequin where she's perfect. So I think that she glows. She has that nice smooth skin, but it's not so much that it takes every little freckle out. I can still see some of her freckles. And okay, questions on that? Oh, okay. So it's a lot of steps, but I think it's worth it. It's by far my favorite skin smoothing. All right, when we're done, we're going to flatten all these layers out. We are done with them. So go to your layers palette, choose flatten, and it will come up and say discard hidden layers because we had layers that were turned off. You say okay, and it'll just throw those hidden layers away. And we're back to, flip over, we're back to step 8. All right, now step 7 said that you could lower the opacity, but ignore step 7. Step 8, the eyes. All right, so before we start this, what are we going to do? Before we start any retouching, we got to make a copy of our background layer. Always, always do not work on your original layer. That is for sure. You have to do that when you're retouching. That way, if we overdo it, we can always fix it. Okay, the eyes. It says, A says dodge the iris. So if you have never used the dodge tool and the burn tool, they're over here. One looks like a little paddle, like a ping pong paddle kind of, and the other looks like a hand with an O. We're going to start with the dodge tool, which is the paddle, and we're going to zoom into the eyes. So use your navigator, whatever method you prefer, to zoom into the eyes. So what I like to do is make your brush small enough, and you're going to dodge. So lighten. Dodge means lighten, and we're going to do this in the dark room, by the way. It's a lot harder in the dark room. I'm going to dodge out the iris. Now this one is not as dramatic. If somebody has blue or green eyes, it's a lot more wow. This girl has kind of like a gray eye, so I don't think it quite has the effect, but try it on your model, especially if they have blue or green eyes, and you're going to see a big wow. And you'll definitely see that on the other one that you're doing. All right, burn the pupil. It sounds very violent. So you're going to come on over here, select your burn tool. Again, it's the opposite. It's like your darken tool. I wish they would call it darken, because most people are confused by the words. But and I'm just going to darken. An eye looks really dramatic when it's high contrast. So I never like pupils to be gray. The pupil should be just rich black. Then I'm going to go around the edge, and this helps make a pupil three-dimensional. And this is just, those people who've taken drawing, you probably know that, if you outline the pupil a little bit, it gives it kind of a three-dimensional pop to it. You could also add a little eyeliner if you didn't think she had a dramatic enough eye. You can come in here and with a steady hand, kind of give her a little eyeliner. Some people even like to with a real fine, tiny brush, like a 2-pixel brush. Come in here and make, you can get crazy. You can give her like crazy long eyelashes. So when you see those commercials and those posters at the store for mascara and you're like, oh my gosh, look how great that mascara is. They probably just enhanced it in Photoshop. I'm just going to go crazy because I'm getting bored with doing this assignment every hour. And I'm going to make her have really long, weird, but you get the idea. I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to make that unless you're doing some surreal type thing. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty much the eyes. One other thing that really helps with eyes is to patch out or heal any veins. So here you can see she's got a vein in her eye, and she's not too bad. There's some people that have really bloodshot eyes. And a great thing to do is to grab your patch tool. I hope you all know where to get your patch tool by now. And just come in and take out any little veins. Yes, you have to zoom way in. Please don't try to do this at 100%. You gotta zoom in. Sometimes I'll even take out like an eyelash that kind of went over top of the eye, just to make the eye look a little whiter, brighter. So you get the idea. It really cleans it up. And I find that if you just do that and clean up any veins or any eyelashes that are kind of showing, you don't need to make the eye whiter usually. Unless somebody really happens to have yellow eyes, and some people do. I know that's weird, but I mean, some people have a bit of a yellow tinge, or it's really dark in the white area. But for the most part, you should not have to dodge the eye. Okay, so let me zoom out a little bit and show you. So here's the difference. So there's my left eye that I did Photoshop on, and here's the one with nothing. So pretty big difference, right? Really dramatic. I've overdone it a little bit, but just to show you the difference. I don't think I need to dodge it. But if you do, you could get your dodge tool and dodge the white part, but be careful. That's where, remember I showed you those ones yesterday, and I was like, this is what not to do? What ends up happening is people get crazy with this, and they come over here, and they grab the dodge tool, and they think they need to whiten the white. And I mean, look at that. That looks weird to me. Look how white that is. So please don't do that unless you really think you need it. Some people will do that, and then again, I can take the opacity of this whole layer down and bring it back a little. So that's not too bad, that one on the left. I don't know. I brought the opacity of my layer on my palette down so I can try to get some natural back. Questions so far on that? So you decide how far you want to go with it. Let's do teeth real quick before the bell rings, and then we'll body sculpting tomorrow. Take me about 5 minutes. You'll have the rest of the hour to work. Okay, teeth are so simple. Her teeth are pretty good. So, but if you have some yellow, she has a tiny bit. I mean, gosh, I wish I had. She has very nice teeth, but you know, a little bit. Let's say we want to get the yellow out of there, which again, hers are not bad. I grabbed the lasso, and you probably have not used this lasso tool since you were in the beginning. It's a selection tool. It's up at the top. It looks like a little rope. And I'm going to make an informal, quick selection around her teeth. Don't spend a lot of time trying to get it just right. Just kind of like do it kind of okay like this. Like I got some of her lip in there. That's not a big deal. It's not the best selection in the world. You can see I kind of messed it up here. It's fine. Just kind of get it selected. Get her teeth selected. And then how do we take yellow out of something? Somewhere in the image menu, adjust, hue and saturation, right? When you want to take the colors out, and remember, master will take them all out. We want to just take yellow. And then I'm just going to bring it down. Now, if I go all the way, I'm going to make her teeth black and white sometimes. So I generally don't take it all out, even if somebody has really yellow teeth. You generally just want it, less is more subtle. I'm going to take 22 points of yellow out. That doesn't do a ton, but it does enough, I think. I have 30 points. And boom, we're done. Deselect. That's about all I do. Some people, I know I have a friend, and he takes out all these spots where the light hit the teeth. Like, he comes in and, like, patches them. I don't like that, but it's up to you. If you like that, you could do that. If somebody has a weird spot on their tooth, you could take it out. But for the most part, that's all I do with teeth. I think her teeth look pretty darn good. So Alright, tomorrow we'll just talk about what we can do on the body. Whether you want to or not is up to you. Okay. So you can save this one if you want and work on it tomorrow. You're not turning this one in, but save it just for demo. Alright, somebody called me earlier and I was like, I'll be right there. I like that. I hope that recorded.